If you're tired of being told your labs look normal, your weight gain is normal, and that exhaustion, irritability, and sleepless nights are just part of midlife, well, no, we're not doing that here. This podcast is where busy women over 40 learn how your metabolism actually works. Liver health, detox capacity, hormone shifts, stress chemistry, gut health, and the truth about what's really happening inside your body. No guesswork, just strategies that actually give you the results you're looking for. Follow the True Health Podcast and drop a comment with a topic you want to learn about next. And let's raise the standard of what normal actually means so you can feel absolutely amazing in your 40s and beyond. I'm Michele Scarlet, and let's dig into it. Okay, before we even dive into this episode, this really important episode, we need to clean up one of the biggest problems that I see in this space right now, which is the obsession on social media with balancing hormones. Because that phrase, it really sounds good, especially when you feel like your hormones are going completely crazy, but it doesn't actually mean anything. You don't just have a couple of hormones that when you just tweak and then everything falls into place. You're not just talking about estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. You have a complex system. There are over 50 primary hormones in your body. And if you include all signaling molecules, you are easily looking at over 200 chemical messengers that are constantly communicating between your brain and your organs and your tissues. Your hormones are responsible for regulating your metabolism, for your stress response, your sleep, your appetite, your fat storage, your immune system. They are involved in nearly every function required to keep you alive and stable. So when an influencer says, we just need to balance your hormones, the question next should always be which ones, based on what, and through which systems. Because you don't balance a network like that directly. You support the systems that regulate that network. And that becomes so much more relevant in perimenopause and postmenopause. So now let's dive into what estrogen dominance means in perimenopause. In perimenopause, the very first meaningful shift in your hormones is not estrogen disappearing. It's ovulation becoming less consistent. That matters because progesterone is only produced after ovulation. So in perimenopause, progesterone is often the first hormone to decline. Estrogen, on the other hand, does not steadily drop like people think it does. It fluctuates. It goes on a roller coaster ride. It is completely chaotic, and it can be higher some days and lower on other days. And it is overall far less predictable than it once was. And you feel it. So what you end up with is this hormonal environment where progesterone is no longer reliably present, while estrogen is still active and often dominant relative to progesterone. That is what we are referring to when we say estrogen dominance. It's not that you necessarily have high estrogen. It's that it becomes imbalanced in its relationship to progesterone. Progesterone has a stabilizing effect on the body. It is calming. It supports the nervous system. It calms the brain, and it helps counter some of the intense stress chemistry that we feel when we are in fight or flight mode. So when progesterone starts to drop, most women don't suddenly become different people. What happens is that they lose a part of the buffering that allow them to tolerate stress, poor sleep, inconsistent eating, and high output for decades. This is why so many women describe feeling like they used to handle everything fine, and now they feel reactive or overwhelmed or unable to recover or irritable. The system just has less margin, less capacity. Estrogen, at the same time, is still very active. And estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It is a signaling molecule that promotes growth and storage. It influences fat distribution, fluid retention, and tissue response. So when estrogen is dominant relative to progesterone, the body is more likely to shift towards storage. This is one of the reasons we see midsection thickening and weight gain, that belly fat that just doesn't seem to disappear when you do all the right things. That is so incredibly common in perimenopause. There is another layer to this that your doctor is not explaining clearly. Fat tissue is not passive. It's metabolically active, if you will. It can convert hormones, including converting estrogen to estrone, a weaker but still active form of estrogen. So when estrogen levels become unpredictable, the body is so amazing. It has a mechanism that buffers that instability, and one of those mechanisms is fat storage. Your body thinks it's keeping you alive, no matter how annoyed you are with this all of a sudden, belly fat that you just can't get rid of. From the body's perspective, it's just adapting. This is adaptive. It is a way of maintaining access to estrogen when ovarian production becomes less reliable. And from the woman's perspective, from your perspective, it feels like everything is being stored in the exact places you don't want it to be. Now, you need to understand what drives this pattern even further, because this is where most women are unintentionally making things worse. When the weight gain starts and the default response is to reduce calories, women start skipping meals, we start fasting, we're eating lighter, trying to be more disciplined, we're working out more, sometimes even dropping our calorie intake to like 1,200 calories a day, believing that that will force fat loss. From a physiological standpoint, that response increases stress on your system. A lower calorie intake, especially when it's inconsistent, drives up cortisol. It destabilizes your blood sugar. It signals the body that resources are limited. The body responds by becoming more efficient at holding on to that energy. When that happens in an environment where estrogen is already dominant, the signal to store becomes even stronger, which is why you feel like you're doing everything right. You're dieting, you're doing the workouts, and you literally are watching the scale creep up. So you have a combination of hormone signaling and stress signaling, both pushing in the same direction: storage, retention, and resistance to fat loss. This is also why I push back on the idea of immediately going on birth control or adding hormone therapy without understanding what's happening inside the body. Almost every single one of my clients have come to me saying that their doctor, as soon as they feel like they're going in perimenopause, they go to their doctor, they explain their symptoms, and the doctor wants to put them on HRT or birth control. I have had people come to me who are already on birth control and their doctor still insists on putting them on HRT without checking their hormone levels from the beginning, their baseline, getting off that birth control, seeing where they actually are, getting a real deep picture of what hormonal chaos is going on. How can you possibly prescribe a hormone or a synthetic hormone like birth control without understanding what that baseline is? To me, this is just lazy practice. And now I know they only have 10 minutes to spend with every single one of you. But go in with the right questions and don't just accept their answer as the only thing you can do about it, because there are far better resources for you who will spend time with you, and they won't just talk about hormones. They will talk about everything that affects and drives the hormonal systems. If you are a woman and you are already in a state where estrogen is dominant relative to progesterone, adding more estrogen without addressing the underlying systems can literally intensify this pattern and make you gain more weight, make you have migraines, make you have worse sleep. That does not mean that hormone therapy is never appropriate. I am a huge advocate for hormone therapy when it works and when the foundations are in place. It means that it should not be approached blindly. And unfortunately, sometimes our doctors are just prescribing a standard of care, and it doesn't always mean optimal for you. I want this episode to help you get a better understanding of what your body is doing before you try to override it. So what actually moves the needle? What actually moves the scale in perimenopause? Let me tell you, it's not going to be another supplement first. It's not going to be another restrictive strategy. It's going to be something completely different that you've never done before. You need to reestablish stability in the systems that regulate your hormones. You need to implement core step number 1, which is eat for results. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, It is actually simple, but that doesn't mean that it's always easy. And it's not in the way most people want to hear it. So this is not about perfection or elimination. Sometimes it is. More often than not, it's about consistency and adequacy. If your body does not feel safe, if it does not feel fueled, if you have stories in your head around certain foods, it will not shift out of this stress response, out of this cortisol spike. So it means regular meals, enough total intake, which means you have to track. You cannot guess at what your intake is and know for sure that it is enough for you. You need sufficient protein. Sorry, it's tough to get in, but it is absolutely necessary when you track and when you understand it. And you need to eat real food that stabilize and support your blood sugar. Without that, everything else is built on an unstable ground. So core step number 1, eat for your results. The second piece is stress regulation, and not just managing stress. Let me go meditate for 5 minutes, but reducing the constant activation of the stress response. When cortisol is chronically elevated, and sometimes due to blood sugar roller coaster, it interferes with hormone signaling. It increases fat storage, and it makes it far more difficult for the body to actually downregulate. Sleep, nervous system support, recovery become a non-negotiable in step number 2, sleep like it's your job. And the third piece here is clearance. Hormones need to be processed and eliminated. This is actually core step number 5. Estrogen is metabolized through the liver and excreted through the digestive system. If those pathways are not functioning well, estrogen can be recirculated, which keeps the dominance pattern going. So gut health, liver support, and daily elimination are not secondary. They are literally the foundation of an estrogen dominant solution. When you support these systems consistently, the body becomes more stable. Your body literally feels safe enough to let that go, to let the fat loss, to let the fat fall off. Blood sugar improves, stress response becomes more regulated, hormone signaling gets less chaotic, and the body becomes more willing to let go of what it had been holding on to. If you are in perimenopause and you feel like your body is just storing everything, especially around that midsection, and just reacting to everything and not responding to what used to work for you, it's not random, and it's definitely not just aging. It is a reflection of how your system is functioning under a new set of conditions. If you want to understand where your body is at when it comes to your metabolism, when it comes to your hormones, I have developed a very short metabolism quiz. I'm going to throw it in the show notes or in the description of this episode. You can go ahead, it's totally free. Click the link. You will get all of the answers that you need. It will help you see the patterns that are driving your symptoms individually, so you can stop guessing and start making decisions based on what your body actually needs. And that is where your real progress will start, when you feel like nothing is working for you anymore. If you're looking for more information on how you can work with me, you can head to my website at www.michellescarlet.com or find me over on Instagram at michellescarlet_. And this information will also be provided in the show notes.